Hello and welcome back to the Innovate Eco podcast. And this is episode 3 of the Startup Diaries, this mini series that me and my brother Matt are doing, building our own planet positive business in the open here in podcast form. I'm also on YouTube, so if you're watching us in 3D, hello, or if you're listening wherever you get your podcasts, hello as well. Yeah, Matt, hi. How's
Hello.
it going?
Good, thanks.
Good, good.
Hopefully, the viewers on YouTube will notice the increased quality in my camera this week. There's been an upgrade.
Yes. Everything is, we're getting there eventually. I think I said in the first episode, would be bear with us as we find our feet. But a core philosophy of this whole project is let's just get going, figure it out as we go along. Yeah. Part of that is the podcast and the technology that goes with it. So, yeah, I'm pleased to see you in at least 720p,
Yeah.
which is great to see. Um, so first and foremost, I guess, to our returning listeners, and we should probably, and to listeners who aren't returning, I'll just quickly uh, explain what we did in our last episode, which we called validating the idea. We wanted to quickly find a way to validate our business idea, and that business being our fashion brand no longer known. And I guess before I launch into the topic of the episode, should I do my
Yeah.
should I have a go at the elevator pitch
Time for
once
the
again?
elevator. Anyone who hasn't listened before, we need to tell them what we're doing. And yes, we can do that through the elevator pitch practice.
Yeah, exactly. We felt like it was a good way to introduce the concept to new listeners and to remind old listeners of what the brand is trying to achieve. And by doing that, by Matt challenging me to do an elevator pitch at the start of every episode and try and I failed miserably in the first couple of episodes. I think last time I clocked in at about 6 minutes. So I'm going to try and beat that with this. So here we go. So the brand we're building is called No Longer Known. It's a sustainable fashion company where with limited drop t-shirts, starting with limited drop t-shirts, where the number of t-shirts are going to be linked to certain wild species of plants and animals that are endangered at risk of extinction. And the number of t-shirts that we release will be linked to the number of that particular animal that's in the wild. And each t-shirt will have a unique design and a unique piece of artwork on it, which will depict that animal. And that will be done in collaboration with a local artist, which is local to the area where the animal is found in the wild. And as part of the money we raise from doing it, we're going to be donating that to, well, working with the artist. So that's going to go to the artist. And then some of the money is also going to go to a charity or organization that is helping the particular animal that is depicted. And we're hoping to make it as sustainable and as planet positive as possible, which is part of the challenge we're trying to solve on this podcast. How is that?
It's incremental gains, I would say. Yeah. I
Took me
feel
a while
like,
to find my feet there. Let me
yeah,
get to the
but
flow.
it's all practice.
I haven't had enough coffee today. That's what it is. It's early here, so I'm going to blame it on that. But definitely an improvement.
Yeah, yeah, we're getting there. We're getting
We're getting there. But yeah, that's the concept of No Longer Known and the company that we're trying to build. And I think just the point that I've changed tweaked slightly from last time is we hadn't decided whether it was going to be fashion or just items or things. And well, we do quite like that idea, but I think, and Matt, challenged me on this, but I'm thinking we need to just focus first and foremost on the t-shirts and the fashion element first, and then we can grow from there. Otherwise, I just think it
yeah.
gets too distorted.
I think at this stage, the easier it is for people to understand, the better. So I guess, yeah, keeping it to just t-shirts for now probably makes sense.
Awesome. So yeah, so that links us into the topic of this episode, well, where we're at with building it. And in the last episode, we were talking about validating the idea. How can we validate it as quickly as possible? Get some feedback that shows us that we're not going crazy and that there is something behind this idea, and it's not just something that we think is a good idea. So we set ourselves the 48-hour $1 million weekend challenge based on the book, The $1 Million Weekend, which was to try and get 3 paying customers. So not just paying £1, but paying like the full price of a t-shirt within 48 hours, which is no small task. And I was a little bit worried, I don't know about you, Matt, if we were going to be able to do it.
I think it was 24 hours before we got any interest.
Yeah,
At
or like
least.
before we got a sale. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a hairy first 24 hours. I thought, oh, this isn't going to work. And then all of a sudden, one came in, another one came in. We hit the 3, celebration started, and then we absolutely smashed it. We ended up almost getting into double figures. Very kind people from all 4 corners of the globe, which is quite amazing, and a potential challenge that we'll have to discuss in a future episode. I think we had Australia, Germany, France, and the UK.
Which, as we all know, are the 4 corners of the globe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for correcting me on that. We didn't have the 4 corners of the globe, but we had
2
they're
corners.
quite wide reaching. Yeah. And yeah, thanks to everyone that showed the faith and allowed us to keep going with this project. You will be rewarded as we're calling you our super VIPs. Undecided what that exactly means, but you'll definitely get one of the first 3 designs of the t-shirts, and you'll also you'll be forever in our hearts as one of the founding members and of this brand. So thank you very much.
Maybe one day there'll be a page on the website listing their names.
Yeah,
Original investors.
At least that. Yeah. And we're going to kind of, I guess, close that deposit system now and say thank you very much and stop taking on more super VIPs, and then rethink about how we start building the audience and things, which we'll come on to later in this episode because that's the next key thing. But yeah, Matt, I guess like did you get much feedback? Anything that jumped out to you when you were going around, running frantically around in that 48 hours trying to find people to buy or to put down these deposits? Any feedback you got?
Yeah, I think generally it was quite nice and positive because everyone was really interested in the idea, and I think everyone got it quite quickly. It wasn't like a big stretch to try and explain what it was and why we're doing it. The main issue, I did find it hard to convert that interest into sales. I think mainly because there wasn't a physical thing that people could see. But yeah, I think that was the main kind of barrier that people had, was not knowing what the designs were or what to expect. £50 was like a little bit of a stretch for someone. I think most people haven't spent £50 on a t-shirt before, probably, as well.
And if they did, they probably knew what it looked like.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it was still positive in the whole. How about you?
Yeah, I received that. We knew it was going to be a challenge from the start. I think we said in the last episode, we have to go without designs because we need to get moving. But getting people to put down £50, just as a show of faith in the idea, and purely investing in the idea and in us to build it's pretty big, even for friends. I think we didn't end up going for, no family members contributed.
No,
we didn't end up going for that real open goal, which I don't feel like is fair feedback really. But yeah, even like a few of them were kind of closest friends, and it's even for them to invest was a big leap of faith. But the feedback was similar, and I think that's really not something we're blind to, is the costing. Like if we want to do this properly and factor in all the elements like the artists, the giving money to the good causes and still making it a business that can sustain itself, that's going to be the big challenge, and without it getting too expensive. But we've got to, I think we'll take that feedback on board and try not to, I think it could be easy to end up thinking, well, we have to cut costs. We have to cut costs to compete with other brands, other t-shirt brands. Whereas in reality, I think what would be the smart thing to do is think of it the other way around. How do we make sure that people feel like it's worth that? How do we start at a premium price and make sure that people feel like it's worth that? Because there's plenty of examples out there. I mean, the one that always jumps to mind for me is Apple in the laptop world. Like they charge a lot more than a similar spec for a Dell or whatever, but they are able to charge more because they tell a really good story.
People really love it. The brand.
So yeah, that's a topic for a future episode, I think, on pricing as we get into it. Because there's so many boxes we want to tick, and before we even start talking about making them circular or super sustainable, which comes at a premium because fast fashion has cut a lot of corners to get to where you can buy a t-shirt for £2.
Hmm.
How do we undo that and still make it affordable in some way? Tricky.
Yes, yes. I was actually in a museum yesterday and I was taking photos of the labels in their t-shirts to see where they got them from because I knew the people who run this museum are ethically sound. So I kind of assumed that they'd done their due diligence and I'm yet to look into it properly, but it seems potentially promising.
Okay. Where in the world were they?
This is the famous Margate Crab Museum.
Oh yeah.
Are you familiar with
Known
it?
for their sustainability. I don't. Yeah, I've not heard of the Margate Crab Museum.
It's one of my favorite museums of all time.
Not just crab museums. All
No,
museums.
all museums. For anyone who's not familiar, it's like super low budget museum in Margate, which I think it was set up on a shoestring. I think during COVID or just after COVID, above a shop, and you can tell that they didn't have much money, but everything's done with yeah, such a high level of care. It's very witty, humorous, lots of fun illustrations. But mainly, and I don't want to give too much away because I feel like it's good to discover it for yourselves, but it's not just about crabs, it's about life.
Wow.
There's the whole section. So it is about crabs, and you can learn about crabs, but there's also like another layer in their storytelling which introduce themes of fake news and climate change and colonialism and stuff. So they get everyone in to the museum through the exciting lens of crabs, but then teach you a lot more about the quite heavy topics, which would be harder to kind of get people engaged in.
Right. Interesting. When you went down this crab hole, I was thinking this was it wasn't relevant, but actually that's kind of very similar to what we're trying to do with this brand. It's like you talk to different audiences that maybe we traditionally conservation brands get to, and that's what the Crab Museum's trying to do.
Yeah,
Trying
exactly.
to get in a wide audience and then talk to them about other things as well. Wow. I'll have to go next
Yeah,
time
yeah.
I'm in
If you're in,
Margate.
and it's free, so yeah, it's a must see if you're ever in Margate. But yeah, I know they have a whole section on climate change and capitalism and its relationship to climate change. I figured it would be slightly amiss of them to have fast fashion in their gift shop.
Yeah, and I imagine there's probably some crabs or at least crustaceans that we may feature on one of our t-shirts at some point in the future. So there
I
could be a collab there.
Genuinely, this is a thought that I have had. I think they would be really up for that. I had a Zoom call with one of the guys who runs it a while ago, just because the first time I went to the museum, I've been many times,
Oh wow.
I was so blown away that I offered him I offered them my design services for free. So we had a Zoom call to see how I could help them. And yeah, they just seemed really great.
Amazing.
So yeah, one
Right.
day
Well,
if we find an endangered crab, which I'm sure there are.
yeah. There's definitely crabs or crab adjacent species.
Mm,
Species that I'm sure there wouldn't be too much of a stretch for the Crab Museum to.
they do have a section on horseshoe crabs, which aren't actually
Yeah,
crabs, so they're open to that, I'm sure.
good knowledge. Your knowledge of crabs is already like just coming through on this podcast.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to visit and look for the future collaboration. But yeah, I think that the creating more of a story, we're focusing on the story, things we can do around unboxing that we've talked about, and making it a really fun experience. And one of the bits of feedback from one of the buyers actually, he mentioned the price and saying £50 for a t-shirt is quite a lot. So I explained our thinking, and he said, okay, maybe if there was some kind of way you could like feel like you're more connected to the species, some content, you get access to an event or something that's like, so you feel that connection to the species that's on the t-shirt. And then he was like, and
Mm.
then I can start to feel like the £50 is more reasonable, but it needs to be more than just a cheap feeling t-shirt that feels like any other t-shirt, which is exactly what we don't want it to do.
Yeah, I definitely think there should be some kind of certificate of authenticity and then like a whole, maybe like a card that details the animal, where it's from, why it's important, how many there are, and then maybe the same for the artist as well, the background of the artist.
So much, yeah, so much to be able to really bring that story to life. Someone actually mentioned, what about like an AR? I'm always skeptical of AR because I've seen so much bad AR, but like some kind of AR like element to the t-shirt, which would be quite fun, but definitely not my immediate priority.
Yeah, I also have seen very few good examples of AR. It does seem a bit gimmicky, but I'm open to exploring things like that.
Yeah, so watch this space. Watch this space. Awesome. So yeah, thanks again to everyone that showed faith, put down the deposit. You will not be forgotten. You'll at least get to first pick of the design and one of the designs for that price. Even if we end up charging more, we're going to honor that price for those first people. Yeah, so thanks again, and you'll be receiving a nice personalized email thank you as well, which is what everyone loves. We validated the idea. Crap, what the hell are we going to do now? What's the next phase? What's the next step? Yeah, we have to build this thing. And I've got some thoughts, but what are your initial thoughts of what's next?
Well, on my personal agenda,
Mm,
definitely at least start making contact with some artists or artist kind of agencies. There was like an organization that you mentioned that you met in Davos of a kind of charity that's about underrepresented artists in kind of developing countries. So at least like starting conversations about at least like building a framework of how to best connect with artists, especially artists in like smaller developing countries who, yeah, might be more difficult to contact. It's going to be really interesting. I was thinking this the other day. If there's countries where like access to the internet is more limited or English isn't their first language, and yeah, it's going to be fun trying to connect with these people. So if there's kind of some kind of organization or middleman to help out, I think anything at
well,
this
that's all part of the
stage.
story. Like I would eventually, maybe that's too much of a hard get for the first few, but like I like that idea of bringing that through in the story. That if it is someone that's in a more remote location, like bringing their art to a bigger audience
Yeah.
and helping them get that. Um, because I imagine, yeah, getting onto like get to galleries or into art spaces for some of those people is probably quite quite tricky. So yeah, that could be something really fun to bring out in the storytelling.
Yeah. And then the other big thing on my agenda, as I alluded to before, is t-shirt suppliers.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm currently always on the lookout whenever I see a nice t-shirt, trying to figure
Mm.
out where it came from. But yeah, I mean, we should do a whole episode on this. There's questions about quality, supply, what it's made of, where it's coming from, printing, ink type,
You got to find that holy
quality.
grail of like really nice quality and super sustainable.
Yeah,
And then the big question will be, do we need to like completely do our own thing from scratch? Like, is there anything out there already that, because we've definitely had some samples from places we thought ticked all the sustainability boxes, but we just weren't happy with the printing. So,
yeah,
and I bet there's the other way around as well. So, can we find it? And if anyone knows of any brands, anyone listening knows of any companies or factories or wherever that have produced really good quality prints in a sustainable way, then do drop it in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify, or send us a message to we've got an email now actually, hello@nolongerknown.com, which I'll put in the description. But yeah, you can email us directly with any thoughts and feedback, which is what a big day. We have an email. That's how I had to get serious. Now we've got the first load of deposits. We needed an email address.
yeah. And
And then,
what's
yeah,
on your?
yeah, well, building on that, I think we did a very basic landing page. So I want to make that better and bring out some more elements of our story on the website. A few criticisms came through of like, oh, the website's so basic and doesn't tell the whole story. I'm like, yeah, well, I just wanted to get something going. So I think starting to bring out some more stuff on the website will be fun. And then we really want to just build the audience. That's for me the key next step is building that audience. So we're building out beyond just our friends and friends of friends, and even within the friends, like kind of building a mailing list so we can keep them informed around what we're doing and start telling the story. And so yeah, all the cool stuff we can do beyond the podcast that we can show visually, like, oh, Matt's found this artist and we're thinking like we're working with them, and showing some of the artwork. Like we can do all that via email and then keep them informed where we're at. And we're thinking once we've built up enough of an audience, we're going to lead towards an in-person launch event where we launch the first 3 designs, hopefully, which will be fun. I think we thought that we would want to get the designs out as quickly as possible, but I was saying to Matt earlier, I think the keeping that excitement whilst not stringing people along too much, building up to launching them at an event or something is the way to go, rather than quickly rushing out a couple of designs. I think we can do enough. We can do more, but we can do enough through the branding, which is going to be our next episode. We're going to get in-depth dive with our branding expert Ash, who's been working with us on the brand, which should be hopefully a fun, interesting episode. We're going to do a deep dive on building the brand. Hopefully we can do enough around the brand and the message and to get people excited before actually releasing those designs. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think that all sounds good. I do like the idea of the first 3 designs maybe being revealed at a physical IRL event. Um, yeah, yeah, I do agree. Just like rushing out some designs or just releasing them as just like a post on social media, potentially slightly underwhelming.
Yeah. Because it's so much more than just the designs as well. So if we just like, then we'd have to be like, oh, and this is why it's cool, and blah blah blah. I think it's better to do it the other way around. Like here's the story, and then the design is like the end point.
Yeah, and then at the launch event, I can imagine, yeah, you reveal the designs, but then it kind of becomes an exhibition of the artwork itself, but then information about the animal, information about the artist, some drinks, DJ.
Some drinks. Sounds good. Well, fingers crossed we get there, and yeah, it's not too far away. But yeah, so I think that's a good next step. And I'm reading the book I'm reading at the moment. which we can do a full deep dive. I'll just grab it from my very. Is this to prove this isn't just a completely set like a
It's not a
set?
green
This is
screen.
yeah. Look. Oh crap! The book's not. Oh, because I was reading it downstairs. Oh no, here it is. It's on the floor.
It is very authentic.
Yeah, this book called Crowdfunded, which is really good. It's basically someone built a business around this. What were they called? Launch Boom, where they help people get crowdfunding, and this is all the strategy of how to do it in that. So at the very start of it, it's all about if we are going to do a crowd, maybe we won't do a crowdfunding, maybe we will do crowdfunding. But even if we don't, I think it's a good way to build an audience. And he talks about at the start building building that mailing list and stuff to get the audience going. So following this good book, recommend it. I'll put it in the podcast notes. So I'll keep updating on that, and maybe we'll do a full episode on crowdfunding if we decide that's the route we're going to take.
Sounds good. Okay, so this week's quiz, as we've been talking so much about price and some of the feedback we've got from our initial investors, how much?
I like calling them investors.
Yes, well, they are investing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's how much do t-shirts cost across a variety of different brands. So I've got 4 different companies of different kind of target markets, I suppose. And the question is, you have to guess how much a t-shirt is. I'll describe the t-shirt to you. And let's say if you get within £10, you get 1 point.
Okay.
If you get within £5, you get 2 points. And if you guess exactly right, you get 10 points.
Yes.
Okay, so the first brand is a brand that we've talked about before on the podcast, Patagonia. This is described as the men's crest pocket responsibility. So I'm guessing this is some kind of responsibly sourced fabric or something. It's got printing on the back and it has a logo on the front, and the colour is solstice purple.
Wow.
What are you saying?
Yeah. Did you say where it's made as well? I feel like that would be important. If it's too hard, never mind.
It says 1% for the planet and fair trade certified.
So they are giving something back.
Oh, it's made in Mexico.
Mexico, interesting. And they got so I'm going to go £37 plus shipping.
All of these are without shipping, yeah.
Okay, £37.
I'm afraid that's 0 points to start. It is £50.
Okay.
Exactly what we've been charging so far. It's quite interesting.
So there are t-shirts for £50.
Next, it's a slightly different angle. Primark. Probably not one of our... someone we're going to be comparing ourselves to, hopefully, too much. This is the Edvard Munch, the Scream graphic t-shirt. So I imagine that piece of artwork is out of copyright, which is why they're allowed to use it.
Yeah.
Its colour is blue, and that's all the information that I have. It's blue.
I'll add in the pictures of these afterwards if you'll
okay.
Or a visual context.
It's got a picture of the Scream in kind of black and white on the front, and that's it. It looks and on the back.
Wow.
Print on the back as well, and it looks quite interesting. It looks, I imagine it being Primark, maybe not the highest quality.
I imagine made in Bangladesh, potentially.
I'm afraid I do not have
Don't know, but I think that's where most of Primark's stuff's made. Turkey, okay. I'm going to go
100% cotton.
£12.
It's £10, which is crazy how that is even possible.
It is, and it is great. This is something we want to talk about through. Yeah, £10 to produce all that design, to pay the artist a fair deal, and to get it from Turkey to wherever it's being buyed and pay the people in the shop and still only be £10 is mad.
Crazy. Okay, so yes, that was Edvard Munch Primark t-shirt. You guessed £12. It was £10, but I think that's 2 points for you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we move on to that's a bit of a segue, but I wanted to do Supreme because they're a brand that we've mentioned before.
And they do limited drops, right?
They do limited drops. They kind of have quite a loyal fan base, I guess you would say. And I clicked on their website to try and see how much a t-shirt was, and it says our website is currently closed and we will reopen soon with our spring summer 2025 collection. So I think that also is quite interesting, thinking about that limited nature. It's a huge brand. You can't even go on their website at the moment because they're building suspense for their next collection.
Yeah, I think we should do a whole episode on this, like building a suspension tension, like find some case studies, because I think there's a whole science behind it
100%, yeah.
and this just shows it. Yeah, that's really interesting that they're doing that. They're like, ooh, what's coming next?
Yeah, so I can't even tell you how much a t-shirt costs for them, but the closest thing I could think of is the skate brand Obey.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you've heard of them. Similar kind of like bold graphic thing. This is their icon heavyweight t-shirt in the colour toffee. There's only a small logo in the centre of the front, nothing on the back. What else can I tell you? It's 100% cotton, and I cannot see any information about where it is manufactured.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with higher than Patagonia, but not loads higher. I'm going to optimistically say, because hopefully this is a good sign for we can charge like £70.
Almost, but I'm afraid it's 55.
Oh, but it's still, yeah, okay. It's still up
It's in
there.
it's in that ballpark.
It'd be interesting to see what Supreme are charging once the website's back up for sure.
So the final t-shirt, slightly more on the higher end of things, just for a bit of perspective. This is the Balenciaga women's lipstick Valentine's t-shirt, oversized in black faded. We can share the picture of this.
Yep.
It's basically a black t-shirt, slightly faded, with a kind of hand-drawn love heart, and it says "Happy Valentine" in
Right.
like
Very relevant.
handwriting font.
Yeah.
Yes, we're recording this
Time
2
of
days
year.
after Valentine, and it also has 2 holes in it, and there's clearly a deliberately distressed look. It's made in Portugal, 100% cotton. Yeah. What are you thinking?
Well, the fact that you've done it and you're leaning into this, you clearly can't believe how much it is for this distressed look that it gives. So, £125.
A little low. Do you want to have another guess? 500.
Wow.
So
I mean, we don't know how many they've sold.
a bit of perspective.
Wow, there's some shows, pricing is weird, right? Like it's a strange science.
Obviously, people must pay it. Like, it's obviously a very famous fashion brand. I don't think you can buy anything from Balenciaga that's anywhere near what you describe as affordable. So, yeah, I don't know. They've clearly just built a reputation for. I mean, I'm sure it is good quality, but is it 10 times better quality than the fair trade Patagonia nature positive t-shirt?
Yeah. So that's the whole we're gonna have to find this balance of like we want it to be accessible for people. And what can we do? Can we create different tiers? We don't want it to be too exclusive, but we want to make sure that it costs enough to be able to fulfill the different aims we've got. So yeah. Watch this space. But thanks, man. That was useful. I feel like I've been provided with some context.
From £10 to £550.
Nice. Okay. Well, yeah. So we've got to get on with it. Lots to do.
Less yapping.
Yeah, I'm off to work on the website some more. But thanks again to everyone that's tuned in.
And to
We'll be
those
back.
people who put their hand in their pocket.
Oh yeah, and a double thanks, yeah, triple thanks to them. And so you'll always be in our hearts for taking that first leap of faith. We'll be back with the next episode on branding, we're going to get Ash, our branding expert, on to chat through the thinking around the no longer known brand and how it evolved, do a bit of a deep dive on that, which will hopefully be useful to anyone listening who's thinking about branding a planet positive startup. So yeah, until next time, Matt, see you soon.
Nice. See you later.